Lesson 13. Lost and Found. Harris was riding a bicycle with his wife through Holland. The roads were stony and the machine jumped a good deal. "Sit tight," said Harris, without turning his head. Mrs. Harris thought he had said, "Jump off." Mrs. Harris did jump off, while Harris pedaled away hard, thinking that she was still behind him. At first, she thought he was riding up the hill just to show off. She expected him to jump off when he reached the top of the hill, and lean in a careless and graceful manner against the bicycle, waiting for her pass. When she saw him the top of the hill and cycle rapidly down the other side, she was quite alarmed. She ran to the top of the hill and shouted, but he never turned his head. She watched him disappear into a wood a mile and a half away, and then sat down and cried. She had no money and she knew no Dutch. People passed and seemed sorry for her. She tried to make them understand what had happened. They gathered that she had lost something, but could not grasp what. They took her to the nearest village and found a policeman for her. From the signs she made, the policeman thought that some man had stolen her bicycle. They found a boy drive a lady's bicycle about 4 miles away. They brought him to her in a cart, but as Mrs. Harris did not want either him or his bicycle, they let him go again. Meanwhile, Harris continued his ride with much enjoyment. It seemed to him that he had suddenly become a stronger cyclist. "I haven't felt this machine so light for months. It's this air, I think. It's doing me good," he said. Then he told his wife not to be afraid and would show her how fast he could go. He sped merrily on for about 5 miles. Then, the feeling began to grow upon him that something was wrong. He stretched out his hand behind him and fell. There was nothing there. He jumped, or rather fell off, and looked back down the road, and it stretched wide and straight and not a living soul could be seen on it. Harris was in a panic. He asked several people, but nobody could understand anything that he was saying except that he seemed to have lost a lady. A young man suggested the police station at the next town. Harris made his way there. The police gave him a piece of paper and told him to write down a full description of his wife, together with the details of when and where he had lost her. He did not know where he had lost her. All he could tell them was the name of the village where he had had his lunch. He knew he had her with him then, and they had started from there together. With the help of a hotel keeper, who spoke a little English, the police were able to make out what he wanted. In the evening they brought her to him in a covered wagon, together with a bill of expenses. She was very angry. Adapted from 3 Men on the Bummel by Jerome K. Jerome. A. Answer the following questions. 1. Why did Mrs. Harris jump off the bicycle? Answer. Mr. Harris was riding a bicycle through Holland with his wife sitting behind him. He told her to sit tight as they were going over roads which were stony and the bicycle was jumping a good deal. She thought he had told her to jump off, and so she jumped off the bicycle. 2. What made Mrs. Harris sit down and cry? Answer. Mrs. Harris sat down and cried because she thought that Harris had deliberately left her behind. She was in Holland, a foreign country, far from her home in England, and she had no money. Moreover, she did not know Dutch, the language spoken in Holland. So, she felt completely lost and did not know what to do. 3. Why could people not grasp what Mrs. Harris was trying to tell them? Answer. People could not grasp what Mrs. Harris was trying to tell them because she spoke in English as she knew no Dutch. The people, on the other hand, knew no English. 4. What did the policeman understand from the signs that Mrs. Harris made? What did the police do as a result? Answer. Mrs. Harris knew no Dutch. So, she tried to explain, in sign language, to a policeman what had happened. The policeman thought that some man had stolen her bicycle. So, when the police found a boy riding a lady's bicycle some miles away, they brought him to her in a cart. However, As Mrs. Harris wanted neither the boy nor his bicycle, they let him go. 5. Why did Harris enjoy his ride so much after his jumped the bicycle? Answer. Without Mrs. Harris at the back, the bicycle had become lighter, and so, Harris could now go faster without any extra effort. He thought that he had become a stronger cyclist. He rode with great enjoyment, thinking that the fresh country air of Holland had made him strong and was doing him a lot of good. 6. What was all the information that Harris was able to give the police about where he had lost his wife? Answer. Harris was not able to tell the police exactly where he had lost his wife. He could only tell them the name of the village where he and his wife had had lunch and that they had set out from the village together. 7. How was Mrs. Harris finally brought to Harris? Why was she angry? Answer. With the help of a hotel keeper, who knew a little English, the police could understand what had happened. In the evening, Mrs. Harris was brought to her husband in a covered wagon, together with a bill of expenses. Mrs. Harris thought that her husband had deliberately left her behind and so put her to considerable trouble. Not only did she not have any money, she could not ask anybody for help also, for she did not know any Dutch and could not make herself understood. She also had to make a very uncomfortable covered wagon. So, she was furious. B. Match each word, group of words with the meaning it has in the passage by putting a tick mark against the correct alternative. 1. Sit tight. A. Sit, taking up as little space as possible. B. Sit or remain firmly in one's place. C. Sit in an uncomfortable manner, huddle. Answer. B. Sit or remain firmly in one's place. 2. Show off. A. Proudly display what one has. B. Postpone a show or event. C. Cancel. Answer. A. Proudly display what one has. 3. Graceful. A. Kind, polite and generous. B. Not attractive or elegant. C. Showing a pleasing beauty in movement and manner. Answer. C. Showing a pleasing beauty in movement and manner. 4. Alarmed. A. Felt anxious or afraid. B. A clock which rang. C. Felt sorry. Answer. A. Felt anxious or afraid. 5. Grasp. A. To work hard. B. To struggle. C. To understand fully. Answer. C. To understand fully. 6. Cart. A. A suitcase. B. A vehicle with 2 or 4 wheels, usually pulled by a horse. C. A map or drawing. Answer. B. A vehicle with 2 or 4 wheels, usually pulled by a horse. 7. Grow upon. A. Grow in a certain place. B. Become older. C. Increase, become stronger. Answer. C. Increase, become stronger. 8. Suggested. A. Asked. B. Ordered, commanded. C. Put forward a plan or an idea. Answer. C. Put forward a plan or an idea. 9. Make out. A. Build something. B. Understand, distinguish. C. Escape. Answer. B. Understand, distinguish. 10. Expenses. A. Gaining knowledge or skill. B. Costing a lot of money. C. Money spent in doing or buying something. Answer. C. Money spent in doing or buying something. C. Say which of the underlined verbs are transitive and which intransitive. Point out the objects of the transitive verbs. 1. Harris was riding a bicycle through Holland. Answer. Was riding, transitive, object, bicycle. 2. She sat down and cried. Answer. Sat, cried, intransitive. 3. The police gave him a piece of paper. Answer. Gave, transitive, direct, object, a piece of paper, indirect object, him. 4. He would show her how fast he could go. Answer. would show, transitive, direct object, how fast he could go, indirect object, her. 5. She was very angry. Answer. Was, intransitive. D. Identify each underlined clause as main, coordinate or subordinate. Mention of what kind each subordinate clause is. 1. He asked several people, but nobody could understand anything. Answer. 2 coordinate clauses, joined by the conjunction but. I. He asked several people. 2. Nobody could understand anything. 2. He did not know where he had lost her. Answer. Where he had lost her, subordinate noun clause, object of the verb did not know in the main clause, he did not know. 3. She had no money and she knew no Dutch. Answer. 2 coordinate clauses, joined by the conjunction and. I. She had no money. 2. She knew no Dutch. 4. They realized she had lost something. Answer. They realized, main clause, she had lost something, subordinate noun clause, object of the verb. Realized in the main clause. 5. With the help of a hotel keeper, who spoke a little English, the police understood what he wanted. Answer. Who spoke a little English dash, subordinate adjective clause, qualifies the noun hotel keeper. The police understood what he wanted, main clause, what he wanted, subordinate noun clause object of the verb understood in the main clause. E. Show how each of the following words has been formed with the help of a prefix or suffix. An example has been given to help you. Example, rapidly rapid plus ly. 1. Stony stone plus y. 2. Careless, care plus less. 3. Graceful grace plus full. 4. Disappeared dis plus appear. 5. Merrily merry plus ly. 6. Stronger strong plus a. 7. Living live plus sing. Write a composition on something valuable that you lost and then found unexpectedly. Name your essay, Lost and Found. Lost and found. Reina had run away from her home. No one knew where she was, not even Reina herself. She had wandered the streets for a few hours, but when it got dark she found a park and hid herself away in a tall tree. She felt scared, lonely, she wanted to be found but didn't want to see her parents. She thought they would be angry, just like they always were. Meanwhile, a woman, Susan, was dialing on her phone in a panic. Yes, I'd like to speak to the police. She said, my daughter, Reina, ran out of the house after we had a bit of an argument this morning and hasn't come back yet. I know it's probably too soon to be really worried, but she's only 8 and she doesn't know her way around the area. Reina sat and watched a family of birds in a nearby tree getting ready to go to sleep. She wished that her parents were there with her to put her to bed until she remembered that she was angry with them. They had told her that she couldn't go to Lily's birthday party because she had to go to visit her relatives instead. Reina began feeling nervous about being in a park alone at night, but she had nowhere else to go and being up high felt safer to her than being on the ground. Susan and her husband were told that there were officers on the lookout for their daughter, but it was going to be very hard to find her before morning. They were still going to try their hardest. She told the officer that came to the house that Reina would most likely head towards Pennington in the north, where quite a few of Reina's friends lived. Despite the fact that she was scared, Reina nodded off to sleep leaning against a big branch in the tree trunk. She dreamed that she would never be found and awoke with a start to the early morning sun. She really hadn't been found yet, maybe they weren't even looking for her. Susan had been told that she and her husband had to stay home in case Reina came home, but she was up at the crack of dawn and heading out to go looking for her, making sure her husband stayed home just to be sure. She went towards Pennington, but something made her stop at a park. She looked into the trees, because she knew that Reina loved climbing, and, sure enough, there she was. Reina saw her mother below her and clambered out of the tree. Her mother ran to her and just hugged her. Reina was surprised but overjoyed. "I was so scared, Mummy." "So was I, sweetie, and I am so glad that you're okay. Please come home, your dad really misses you too," Susan replied. Reina nodded and took her